dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world. It's your boy Humble Dad back with another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. It's going to be a dope show. Why? Because I said so. Hey, we're going to be talking about what's the problem with this picture between Rihanna and A$AP Rocky that everybody has seemed to taken a liking to or disliking to. But in the meantime, we're going to introduce our guests and see what they got going on. All right. And the question for this evening that we're going to start with is name a turning point in your life that makes you smile. All right. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Prototype. What's up, homie?
What's going on, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Thanks for coming again, man.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Got
What's
the
up?
question?
A turning point in my life that made me smile.
Yeah.
I guess when I went to my college advisor and they told me I had enough credits to graduate. When that happened, I started singing "This Change Is Gonna Come" all through campus, singing Sam Cooke as loud as I could. Because you don't understand, man. It took me 6.5 years to get my degree, dog.
Okay. That's
So,
a bet.
yeah.
That's a bet. That's understandable. All right. And we got a new and up and coming young man to the stage. Here we go. Testify in the building. How's it going, sir?
What's going on, Humble Dad, man? I'm happy to be here for the first time. I know my boy CJ, man, he done really bigged you up a lot. And since you came on, man, I'm following you too, brother. So I appreciate you for letting me come up.
That's a bet, man. I appreciate you coming on with short notice too. You know what I'm saying? Because
Oh.
everybody's not necessarily available like that. So
Yes,
I appreciate you, Doc. So you got the question?
I do. For me, it was getting married, man. For me, I think that was a big stepping stone in my life. That it was one of those. I really seen how much I changed. I wasn't always the nice guy that's in front of you. So being able to say I do and having that woman in front of me that really believed that I was changed, it made me smile every time I think about it. So yeah, getting married.
That's what's up. How long you been married?
Going on 3 years. It'll be yeah, man. I'm still new to this, still new to being a pop. My boy be 2 in March, so I mean April. So in April, so yeah, still getting used to everything.
That's what's up. Got that learning curve. Hey,
Yeah.
Prototype could probably help you out with some of the things, you know what I'm saying? Because he's the example. You know what I'm saying? That's what he say. He's the example.
Okay. Prototype.
Yeah, absolutely.
But still being worked on.
Absolutely.
Make sure you understand.
That's a bit. For me, the first thing I can remember that made me smile was holding my my daughter for the first time. She's 13 now, and man, just to think about how time has flown by. But I remember holding her in my arms at the hospital and just could not believe what had just transpired, as well as like had that mixed emotion of why would my dad leave me? Like this right here is an incredible moment. You know what I'm saying? But I was smiling like crazy because there's, we had lost a couple before that. You know what I'm saying? So to experience her being born brought a smile to my face. You know, that's the one that comes to mind the most. Well, I guess the fastest, but there are others, obviously, right? Right. So I appreciate y'all boys for being here. Dwayne hopefully will be on his way, but he's always fashionably late. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get on him when he get here. You know what I'm saying? That's Prototype, homeboy.
Oh, okay.
Prototype cool with everybody. I just like messing with because Prototype. Listen, man, you'll learn very quickly. If you haven't seen that, he speaks his mind and he's cool with it. You know what I'm saying? So if you're offended, then that's on you. That's how. That's how.
Feel that. Feel that.
You ain't lying, my guy. I'm cool with it. Yeah, I'm not speaking my mind. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Prove me wrong.
So we're gonna start, kind of build up, so to speak. So the first statement is, how would you define success? How would you define success?
I can take this one first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I say it like this. I really believe success is only determined by one person, and that's the person that's looking in the mirror. I remember having a conversation with my mom about my dad one time. And I've always been the person in the family that I always want more. I want us to elevate past where we was at. I'm from the country, so horses and all that stuff. That wasn't for me, but my dad loved it. And I remember telling my mom, shouldn't my dad want more than me, more than this? And she looked me dead in my eyes and she was like, your dad is successful because this is what he wanted his whole life. And once she said that, my whole idea of success changed, because it's about what you deem successful, not what the world does. So for me, I think it's up to you. What is success in your eyes, and if you can accomplish it or not?
I mean, I want to agree with that wholeheartedly. I really do. But there's some things that just aren't deemed just aren't worthy of being deemed successful, right? Like, because if you set the bar too low, then it's more so of that wasn't successful. Like, you know what I mean? Like somebody like learning how to tie their shoe at the age of 12. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was like, man, I'm gonna set my goal to tie this shoe, like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, like you got to do a little bit more than that. So I can't necessarily say what is actually deemed success. I agree with what you said, right? It's I mean, you determine it yourself, but at the same time, I think there's a communal standard that needs to be a part of that, what you're deeming successful or not. You know what I mean? So I definitely think a healthy family structure is a part of it, though.
So for you, you're saying that a healthy family structure would be considered success?
I would say it's a part of it.
Okay.
Right. It's definitely a part of it. Having good, healthy kids, teaching them good boundaries, and a well-rounded family. I think that's a good sign of success. But at the same time, you know, I guess I think we're all believers here. There's a passage that says what a bishop is, right? The standard for a bishop. And I incorporate that a lot into what I deem successful. I can't remember which passage it is. I know Dwayne will come. You know, it's going to flow to his head in a minute.
Let me make it.
But whatever it says, like, you know, your family's, you know, your kids are right, your wife is blah blah blah, whatever that passage is.
1 Timothy 3:2.
Whatever it says, it's for like a bishop. Yeah, it's the standard for a bishop. But at the same time, I think like, no, that should be the standard for a man. You know what I mean? So that's a part of what I think success should be in the very simplest standard. Anything after that, this amount of money, this part of career, blah, 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 XYZ. That, you know what I mean? Then that stuff could be incorporated. But at the very baseline, your family intact, your family strong is, I would say, is first thing first.
Okay. I like the way you're starting. Hey, Dwayne, what you got on that? What defines success?
The individual. To me, it doesn't matter what the anybody around you thinks. Success is defined by the individual. So you could be living in a 2-story box under the closest freeway, and you might think that that's successful to you, and that's all that matters. If you're happy, that's it. But success is to me is setting a goal and achieving it, whatever that goal may be.
I kind of understand where you all coming from, but how can we measure success without seeing what others do?
Without seeing what others do.
Yeah. Like, how will we know? So to say that, I'm successful because of whatever goal it is that I set, right? If I'm living on a cardboard box, then I feel like I'm successful, right? How is that? Like, I wouldn't see how someone would say that they are successful living under a cardboard box without being able to kind of I think we naturally compare ourselves to others to kind of help us reach a particular goal. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, my neighbor got a 1-story cardboard box, and I got a 2. So I'm over here. I'm living it.
It's gonna be that type of. Okay.
No, but then to that, like for me, like I tend to, whatever the culture is doing, I typically go the other way. Wherever the herd's going, I'm like, yeah, y'all go in the wrong. Okay, all right, y'all go ahead. Y'all set the note for. I'll go the opposite way. So I guess I'm a little skewed in that aspect. So I don't allow culture to define my success, because their definition of success is different than mine. So from a biblical standpoint, like their idea of success from a biblical standpoint is different, or even salvation.
That is true.
I don't want to go off, but I want you to elaborate on that without going too far off of the topic. Like, what is biblically successful in society? Because that don't go together. Society and biblical are two different things. Being a part of the world or not of the world, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
XYZ. So I don't understand what you mean by that, because we're separate.
Well, my sheep know me by my name, and they know my voice. So as for for example, like marching orders, like you had marching band, and the marching band has the head. What drum beat are you stepping to? So I look at it from that standpoint. Am I stepping to the drum beat of the world, or am I stepping to the drum beat of God Almighty? So the things that are fruitful to the world are vanity, and the things that are fruitful to God are eternal. So I look at it from that standpoint. Am I storing up my treasures?
But you mixed them, though. You mixed them. You said that the church society has a standard on the church or something like that, right? Am I wrong? Didn't you say something like that?
The society has its own set standard, which is set apart, even with inside the church. So, not all churches are the same. There's different denominations to churches as well. So I look for my success in the Bible and what that standard says versus what the world says. It's because the world is what it builds its foundation on sand.
Oh no, I get it. Okay, I thought, like I said, I thought you said that something else. So that's your yeah.
I'll try and be more clear and precise in my speech.
All right, so go ahead. You gonna say something, Tez?
I'm kind of with Dwayne on it. And I mean, the question you asked was great, because when you look around, especially the time we live in now, you look around at the nice cars, the nice houses, the women, and all that stuff, and that's force fed to us as success. But once again, it's your idea. Me personally, I believe it's your idea of what success is. I don't have to have a mansion to be successful in my mind, but I'm not saying the guy that has it isn't successful. I just really believe that. But prototype, I can also understand where you coming from. It got to be some type of degree. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things. I really do believe it comes down to the individual. But my idea of success may be a mansion. It may be a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. But the question is, am I unsuccessful if I don't get those things? I think, to me, that's the question that I battle with all the time.
I would say yes, right? Okay. If you had a goal to obtain something, then and you didn't, yeah, you were unsuccessful.
Gotcha.
But then I also then look at it from the standpoint like society shouldn't be a driver, because I look at let's say within the Black community and rap music. Well, I won't even just make it exclusively to the Black community. If you go in the club and you make it rain, right, or you have the ability to make it rain, that's considered successful. You're able to do
according to who?
That's a show of success.
It's a show of success.
Like according to who?
Well, I mean, according to the rap music. If you
sound like somebody that don't listen to rap music.
Well, no, I mean from the little bit that I did catch. Okay, so you
don't listen to rap music.
I try not to.
Okay,
well, for example, trap music, I try not to, because for the what is pushing from a moral standpoint, I don't agree with it.
What's it pushing?
It's pushing worldly, like, for example, as for whenever it comes to wealth, right? You're blowing your money on chains, you're blowing your money on whips, and you're blowing your money on females, you're blowing your money on impressing other people. In that, you will never be able to acquire wealth, because a form of acquiring wealth is the ability to save, and a part of saving is also.
So are you saying that there isn't any trap music out there that says save your money, don't blow your money, XYZ?
Well, I'll be real with you. You
don't listen to it.
No, I do. So there's a couple of rap or artists that do. I'll say, for example, Aha Gazelle. I'm a fan of his. Right? He makes fire music. Totally.
I never even heard of that person.
It's right on. Right. So, but I'm not. As for mainstream, I don't listen to too many mainstream rap artists. I don't need the Migos, Future. I can't list them out really, but from what I have seen, right, it's about going to the club, making it rain, spending money, being flashy outwardly. And I'll put it to you like this.
I don't think you listen to it enough to make an opinion on it.
You haven't even let him finish Prototype.
All right. So Prototype. What rapper is not flashy and does not wear chains and does not rap about what they deem as success? That mainstream.
What rapper is not flashy and doesn't wear chains?
And yeah, correct. And
why is the chains play a part?
It plays a part because it's about adding jewelry and diamonds. It's a flash. So, for example, most billionaires, and I won't say most. There are certain particular billionaires that just wear a T-shirt, or they'll wear the same thing constantly. They don't look into trying to.
So you're talking about the 0.01%.
Absolutely. If you want to call it that. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. The ones that are rich as all get out, but don't outwardly try to make it seem that they're rich. The Black community, or I'll put it, the particular group of people that I'm talking about are the ones that are flashy. They want to talk about their cars, their females, and it's nothing to do with modesty.
I mean, some people like cars. So people like cars. It's not a bad thing to like cars, right? There's car shows. There's all types of stuff. You don't like cars?
I didn't say it wasn't a bad thing, and I think that's what we were mentioning.
I think
earlier.
Prototype is triggered.
No.
A little bit, only because he's uninformed about the complete genre of it.
Well, no, not necessarily, because again, like there's certain things that sell, and I'm not ignorant to that. And I look at, like, for example, grills. There was a moment in time where grills was a thing, right? Diamonds in my mouth. And the thing about it is, like, yeah, you could go out and you could do that, but putting diamonds in your mouth and grills, like, there's other things that you could do with that money. Now, granted, what we're talking about is success. And earlier I've started off by saying success is based off what the individual believes as success. So particularly in what I'm saying, it doesn't matter what rap artists you want to talk about, whether you like them, you don't like them. If what they're doing, they feel that they're successful in doing it, that's their prerogative. Now, from a cultural standpoint, this is where I would then say, whenever you now are an influencer of the culture, you're now influencing people to do things that may be counterproductive to their own success, but they might not know it. So whenever they see these people of influence now in the club, or making it rain, and you work 2 weeks hard as all get out, and then you believe that it's successful to take that money that you just got, and instead of saving it, you think it's okay for you to go to the club and make it rain to some strangers. Like, that is influencing somebody. Now that's up to them on both
So,
sides.
and it could be completely counterproductive for a person to wear the same thing every day and think he's going to, you know,
It could be.
not
It could be, because
so. I mean, that could go both ways.
I
So
will
run
agree with
it
you.
back like this, prototype, to answer, because you asked him a question. So I don't think you would necessarily answer his question. Which rappers do you see or hear that don't talk about what is success to them, and it not be something of flash?
So the problem with that is that could be a part of something with Flash, but that don't mean that something with Flash is wrong. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So
not-
it could be. I mean, I
But that's
listen
not
to.
my
I mean,
question.
I'm a little older, so I still listen to the T.I.s and the Jeezy and all that. You know what I'm saying? So I listen to some of the new stuff, but I can't really tell you all the names of whoever, and I don't know what you would necessarily call trap or not. You know what I'm saying? I guess you could call Jeezy or T.I. trap, right? If you want to specifically talk about that particular genre, but it's there's plenty of music with, like, even with a David Banner, like that's trap, right? And if you like, he's become one of the leaders and speakers of the Black community on a positive note. So like, even like, he's had music on the same album where he talked about look at the grills, this and that, but he also talked about doing things productively. So I don't, like I said, I just don't think you listen to enough of it to even make a point on to deem it negative or positive. You know what I'm saying? You're just not wrapped up in the culture enough.
So specifically, I listened to Young Jeezy. I enjoyed Young Jeezy. I enjoyed it. I listened to T.I. and his TIP, right? I listened to that and I enjoyed it at the time. And whenever I say at the time is whenever I was up of that age, whenever I was going to the clubs and thinking that was cool, or better yet, thinking that was successful for my age range, right? But now I'm pursuing something different. So with my mindset now focused on the family, I don't see that conducive, or that genre conducive to raising a family. So in it, like,
You went on mute.
Muted
You went on
himself.
mute, Dwayne. You still on mute. You still on mute, Dwayne.
So I look, I
Go
can
ahead,
kind of pick up
Ted.
where Dwayne was coming from. Look, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I know one rapper, one that I would listen to that don't talk about chains. He actually talk about stuff a little bit different. That's J. Cole. You know, and look, I'm gonna be 100% honest.
I wouldn't put J. Cole in the trap. He
No,
specifically said trap.
okay.
Not necessarily.
Oh no. Never mind on that then. Because like I said, when I was growing up, it was Gucci Mane all day. So I trap. T.I. King. Look,
I wasn't a Gucci Man fan. I wasn't. No,
All
I wasn't. I wasn't.
How did we get there? So this is what's interesting, though, and Dwayne, you can probably come back to your point, but I think what's interesting, prototype, that you rarely contradict yourself. Maybe I have missed it, but this particular time it sounds like you did, because you said that you would deem success in promoting family, right? So then, which music artist, T.I. or Jeezy, you know, would you say, maybe Jeezy, maybe I don't know, in their music is promoting family?
And that's going to be my particular question too.
I mean, if you want to like promote it like in their music, I don't know. Probably what's it? The Toby dude, maybe.
Yeah, he does.
I don't listen. I'm sure I could find it if I went on a hunt. You know what I mean? Like, oh, who's talking about family? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know Andre 3000. You know, he has a couple lines with like
mainstream,
wife and a daughter. Like, Andre 3000's not mainstream.
No, I mean he is, but I mean,
okay. So
that in like 10 years.
Move to Georgia, get a wife and a daughter. Like, I mean, so it's ingrained in there some way. You know what I mean? It's not all about one particular thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a slew of different aspects of whatever you could be listening to I mean, whatever they're going through, or whatever. Some is hitting on family and how to do it right. Some's hitting on how to do it wrong. Some saying don't do this, don't do that. Some's talking about dating. You can't just be like, oh, like that's a genre in itself that you're asking to be. You know what I mean? Who's talking about family and family only? Nobody.
No, that's not what I was referring to. I wasn't
You know what I'm
referring to like family.
So who's promoting
only.
family, right? Most of these dudes are married with families.
But what I'm saying,
look at 2 Chainz.
That's what I'm
2
saying.
Chainz is married with his family. He's at every basketball game. Hey, you know what I'm saying? He got his kids.
But what was said though, Prototype, that you said that like the way that you promote things is based on your platform. Agree or disagree?
I'm not disagreeing.
Okay, so with the platform that
I think you put me in the hole. You put me in the hole, but go ahead.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
I say everybody.
This is anybody though. Anybody that has a platform, and what you put on that platform is a representation of what it is that you believe, so to speak, or what you want to put on display, even if you don't believe it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is that if we talking specifically genre, the trap genre doesn't promote family. However, it is something that you would say that you listen to, even though you're saying that you're going to promote family, right? That would be somewhat of a contradiction.
Well, it depends, right? I don't listen to I don't listen to rap music to motivate me and my family. Like my music motivates me in my career. It motivates me in the gym. It has a different part of why I do things, and it helps me through those things on why I do. Yeah. The family aspect of it, that's just me at home. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not using rap music to promote my family or to be a better dad. I got that wrapped up already. You know what I'm saying? But I do use it. For me, it's like coffee. You know what I'm saying? It's what I'm using at the time to get me through whatever task that's at hand. You know what I mean? But some of it, like I listen to one song daily. It's called "How to Get Rich." It's by Chinks, right? One of my favorite songs. It motivates me to keep going, keep doing what I'm doing. XYZ. It gives me the understanding that nobody can tell you how to get rich. You got to figure some things out on your own. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of different ways to listen to music, man. And like I said, I don't think you just listen enough of it to really make it
the maturity that you have, though,
to redeem it, though. I mean, but
that's the maturity that you're stating. Right. But on the average, right, which and also in the statement that you made, that you said that music is influential, even in your own statement.
It's definitely influential. Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
So then that's what I'm saying. So because you're able to deduce and take apart like what is beneficial and what is not, that's a maturity side of you, right? But is that the culture, like the culture, which is what we're saying? That's why I wanted to get back to. We're talking about we want a culture to be successful, right? And so if we were to promote, which is going on, promote trap music and things that do not edify family, like if music is that influential, then why would we promote it?
We can't really. I think we wrapped up in culture a little bit too much too.
Not us.
I mean, the culture
is on the outside.
It's wrapped up too much into the culture, right? Because we don't control the narrative of the culture, other than our own voice amongst each other, right? Like we can have this conversation, and I can say, "Oh, listen to this guy; he's going to talk about this. Listen to that guy." We don't control the airwaves and that kind of stuff. We don't.
We do essentially. We in a capitalist society, you do. Because you're the one
that owns it, dude. They control they have the platform.
Hold on. So this goes into to what Kanye has been trying to say to people. Like this industry is that industry or entertainment industry is ran by something or someone. That's the overall arching thing. Something or someone. And what he's been trying to draw attention to is that something or someone or someone's don't have your best interest in mind. Don't have the family structure's best interest in mind. As a matter of fact, it's about deteriorating and degenerating our society or our culture. And if we're not paying attention, by the end of it, we will not have a culture or a society. It will be gone. So I think paying attention to who is running it and what's the purpose behind it, that's what's important to me. So I noticed with whenever, as for watching movies, as for listening to music, I listened as I was a part of that, because I worked at Circuit City. Best Buys was right up the corner, and I was going to new release Tuesdays and buying all the movies and listening to all the music, the mixtapes and all that, right? And I noticed that as I was reading my Bible, one is going one way and the other is going the other way. And once I realized that, I said one of them is true, the other one is not. And from a cultural standpoint, it's up to us whether or not we're going to spend our hard-earned money promoting those things, because just like what HD was saying, like the things in which you believe in, as for the platform in which you stand on, you believe in them. So there's certain things that I just don't believe in. And in a capitalist society, it's up to me whether or not I'm going to spend my money going to them and giving it to them so that they can continue with their research and development or producing this material. And if the material is not good for our culture, I cancel my Netflix account because of that. I don't like Disney Plus because of all the extra stuff that they've been doing. So I control it in the sense of whether or not I'm going to give them my money or not, because I see how they're destroying our society. The family structure, shot. Again, going back to the rapping, how many of them rap about their wives? How many of them rap about their family, what they're doing for their family? Not in the standpoint of I do it for my boys and we all eating. No, I'm talking about like from a family standpoint. Like,
So a lot of these guys doing it for my boys is all they got. A lot of us don't come. Look, a lot of us don't come from your background where we're not in single parent homes. A lot of us survive off of doing it for our boys. You know what I'm saying? So we could relate to that. I can understand why you wouldn't. You know what I mean? But we could relate to that because the family structure is all messed up.
Okay, so whenever it comes to the Crips and the Bloods, right? Guess what? And all these gangs, that's what it's about. That
right.
Precisely what you just said is what it's about.
Right.
Whenever you find a conglomerate of people that have your back and have your same interests in mind, but if your interest or the platform in which you're on is destructive, that's where I have a problem. So as for gangs, there's certain people that are formulating the gang with the same mindset, but they're not out there destroying certain things. They're trying to cultivate and preserve life, and that's how I look at it from that standpoint. How many of these things that are being pushed in society, they say sex sells? What kind of sex? Marital sex, premarital sex, sex with anybody, sex with anything. What are we talking about?
All of the above.
Yes, but from a biblical standpoint, it says it's between a married man and a woman. So if it's all the above, there's one answer that's right, and then the rest of them is wrong. If you choose all the above to that, then in that, from a biblical standpoint, it's the wrong answer. It's the wrong answer. So from a cultural standpoint, I'm looking at what facet of our culture is pushing good. Now, good can be considered relative, but good to what? And I'm talking about biblical good, what God considers good, what righteousness is. That's what I'm looking at. And guess what? I'm not sitting here like pontificating like I'm all that. No, I am flawed as all get out, right?
I mean, of course you would say that, but I think you're lacking. You're going to say you're not, but you're lacking the understanding that ADOS people got different backgrounds than you do, and we have different ways of relating than you've come up and understand and identify with. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
So even the gang thing, right? There's human emotion that goes with it, right? And people will go with something that's wrong and negative for the sake of being a part of something. You know what I'm saying? And if you have something else to be a part of, that's more positive, then of course people will probably choose that. But people generally go where the love is, and you're acting like we're too analytical to have emotion, to be emotionally attached to certain things.
You keep going on mute, Dwayne. Hey, testify. Why don't you come on in, bro? What you got? What you thinking?
Honestly, like going to Dwayne's point, especially if you talking biblical, you understand why certain things are being pushed. Now, we ain't going down that rabbit hole tonight, but we get there. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is the thing, and I'll give some of my life experience. Like, I grew up in a nice household. I grew up in a Christian family. So once you become an adult and you get to experience some of the things like trap music, like premarital sex and all that stuff. Once you get, for me, once I got my feel of it, I started to feel empty. So I started to see maybe these things that rappers and R&B artists was telling me was fulfilling and good really wasn't. So that's what kind of spin my mind around to where I was like, man, I want to go back to what I seen. I seen my mother and father, have their loving relationship with 4 children. Sometimes they ain't know how they were gonna make it, but they did. And I kind of dismissed a lot of the narratives. And what Humble Dad said, I think a lot of that does come with maturity. And Prototype, you right. You got the mindset, bro. You can put that into, I'm gonna go a hard 30 minutes listening to this. But man, I got some young boys that they believe everything NBA young boy say is the truth. They believe everything that he say is real, and they want to be him. And when you realize this is a young man that got how many kids now? I think he had 10, and he 22, 23. It's like, bro, you don't want to go. You don't got the money NBA young boy got. And then you don't understand how those children are being affected by not seeing they. I don't know he might see him every day, but I don't think he see him every day because he toured. Now he currently on house arrest. So I do understand it's deeper motives to it, but I do think guys like Prototype, guys like me and the guys here, we can compartmentalize that stuff and use it for, a boxing workout or running on the track. But it's some people, that's what they see as success. Them being a baby mama is the goal because that's what they see the movies and that's what they see they artists talking about. So I definitely understand.
Yeah, and I'll also say this: Prototype. Don't let me get it twisted. I get what you're saying, and like what AC was saying about the maturity. It is a part of the maturity because I didn't live no gang life. Thankfully, let me get my thankfully. I ain't got no face tattoo. I work a corporate job. Okay, so like. I didn't go through all that, but I did see other people go through that. I did watch other people experience those things, and I think one of the common denominators is they're looking for love. They're looking for a camaraderie. They're looking for something, and if that doesn't start at home, that's where you start looking for it. Thank the good Lord that my father was a part of my life, and if I did go and try to go that way, he was going to have something to say about it and input into my life, and that's love. So for those parts of our society that don't have that, I'm just saying there's that energy that's pushing people towards that form of life. And whenever I say you ain't about that life, let me get my you all right. Okay, you all right. I'm not about that life. All right. I'd much rather choose to do something else other than live. That's hard, man. That to me, that's hard. So like it's much easier trying to do the right thing from a biblical perspective rather than out there trying to run the streets. Right. That's just my perspective. So yeah, no, you're right. It ain't about that life like that.
That's what's up. Did you have one last thing, Prototype? I seen you. All right, for sure. So this is interesting a topic because when I was a teacher, I used to have these conversations all the time about music, and like I was telling Prototype backstage. I mean, I was in Christian hip hop, and it was a conversation all the time about what it is that we listen to and how it affects us. I mean, we're talking about the Bible. I mean, the whole thing that's going to be in heaven is about worshiping. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be songs, you know what I'm saying, to Almighty God. So, some people are not at the maturity of how to listen to some music or watch particular shows and things of that nature. But the scripture is very clear about what it is that we watch and what we put into our bodies. Not what goes in, it's what comes out, right? But at the same time, what's interesting is what goes in is what typically comes out, right? So, it's a really good dialogue. So that transitions to like the dynamics of like, some of y'all was raised with a 2-parent household or had your dad, and some of us we did not. So the question that I have next up is, and it's probably been on other panels as well, are leaders born or created? Are leaders born or created? and whoever wants to go, have liberty.
I would say a little bit of both, right? Like there are some leaders that that have the it factor. Um, may not be true for all, but even with it, I think it all takes. I think it's a skill. Leadership is a skill. So anything that's a skill is something that's worked on and developed. Um, so even if you're born, hard work to be talent any day. You know what I mean? So it's kind of one of those things. So I mean, that's just kind of where I could just let it land. I think people are put in positions and either they rise or they fall or they fall and learn and come back better. Like what I'm saying, the path of leadership is not one way. What I'm saying, everybody have a different path to it. So,
Okay.
Man, prototype, honestly, bro. I want to go where you went. But I'm gonna go create it. And the reason I'm gonna go create it is because I really believe as a leader, you got to go through the trials. It's a quote. You got to learn to follow before you can lead. And I really truly believe it. I don't think as a leader you can't do what the people did before you. And I don't know how many of y'all have been in warehouse settings, but the guy that comes in with a master's degree that becomes your manager don't get the respect like the guy did that worked there 10 years and he know all about it. So for me, creation, it gotta be there. Like I ran from leadership, I ran from this camera, I ran from talking to guys for years because I was afraid to do it. I didn't think I was enough. But through trial and error, it's like I can do this. Because I went through the experiences that it took to become the guy that people wanted to talk to. So I think they're creative, but prototype. Honestly, man, I can roll with you on that one. I still do believe it's a little bit of both, but I'm gonna go creative.
Yeah, I jive with that too. I do believe it's a little bit of both, and I think HD I made mention to you. There was a Madden when you created your My Player, and you looked at your moms and you looked at your dads, and if you
Wow.
Yeah, I said it. So if your mom was an athlete and your dad was an athlete, guess what? The boy was going to be an athlete. And that's how the traits transition. So I think there's certain traits that are biological, but then there are certain things that you pick up along the way. So leadership is something that you learn and you can observe from others. And let me preface learning. There's a difference between having the knowledge and having the wisdom. Wisdom is a combination of the knowledge and the experience. And with that, you're able to direct from that. You could teach, hey, this is this, but you can also do this when you see this based upon an experiential standpoint. So I believe the leadership is something that is cultivated. It is cultivated. So if you are brought up by good leaders, or you know what, better yet, I'll even preface that. Bad leaders, depend on your perception. You can know the difference between what good leadership and bad leadership from having both. If you have bad leadership and you desire to be a good leader, you can then take and own those parts where you said, nah, that's not good. I see where you're trying to go with that, but that's not how you get there. And you can refine it and process that and become a better leader with that type of management style. And I think from parents, grandparents, our peers, our teachers, our coaches, there's all those people that have the ability to pour into our lives from a leadership standpoint. There's a lot of managers, but few leaders.
Okay. I'm going to go with that. Leaders are born because you're either a good leader or a bad leader. I'm going to go with it like that. Because based upon life experiences, as y'all talked about, right, at some point, they're going to be in charge of something, right? I'm going to take that particular approach. You're going to be in charge of something at some particular point in time, right? And if you have not been trained, because I'm going to go with also kind of like it's a little bit of both, but I would say that that leaders are born. So when men or boys are created, in my estimation, that every boy is a leader. That because at some particular point in time, they will be, and hopefully in charge of a family, right? That's what the goal is supposed to be. That they're supposed to be in charge of a family. Now, whether they're a good leader or a bad leader, that's to be determined. That's where the creation comes into play. John Maxwell, who I always quote, and I never forget it, he says, "Success rises and falls on leadership." Right. Well, if I would not have got around guys that understood what leadership was, I would have been a bad leader. Like me pledging did a really good thing for me specifically, because I was raised in a household, where with just my mom, and I was the oldest, and so I naturally had to be in charge at things. However, I wasn't trained from the position of a man how to lead as a man, right? But then when I got to college and got around a lot of dudes, they was like, "Oh no, this is what you got to do it like this," right? And then I was an okay leader. Matter of fact, I was the president, I was the chaplain, things of that nature. So I was able to have opportunities to lead. And I think Dwayne said, or somebody said, you have to have some opportunities to see what your leadership is. Then I became a manager, and I was a horrible leader. People, you know what I'm saying? I was firing people left and right just because they wouldn't make a sale that day, but not until I got into the gospel, me specifically, and seeing how whether it was Jesus, it was Paul, it was David, even though David and Paul had their issues, right? And then others as well. I started seeing how I could be a great leader, right? And so that's when I became, or was created into who it is that y'all see today. James once talks about that, rejoicing in the things that, when difficulties come, right? These are going to be helpful to you being able to persevere, right? These are going to be opportunities for you to exhibit self-control. These are going to be opportunities to see what their faith looks like, right? So I would say that they're the same. I mean, not same. I would say that they kind of build on each other. I would say that leaders are born, and then great leaders are created. So that's how I would answer that particular question. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are, every boy is not supposed to have a family. Every man isn't supposed to have a family.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it, but some dudes are just terrible at it. Like some dudes shouldn't have kids. Like period. So
what I'm saying, when they're born, I'm saying when, like,
born or not, right? I don't think, I went to Costa Rica maybe like 6 months ago, and we stayed at this compound, and there was a lot of men working on it, and we was interacting with the staff, right? And we're talking, like, there was this guy, he was like 50 years old. And we were just asking him, like, oh, you got a wife, family, blah, 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 blah. He's like, no, that's not for me. Like, I don't want a family. I can't afford a family. You know what I mean? So he's like, I don't want a family. I can't afford a family. Family's not my thing. I'm working on the compound. So, I mean, but I think in other countries, they have a realistic, realization of what's deserving of what. You know what I mean? I think here we have a different expectation of everybody's supposed to make it big, right? Everybody's supposed to have families. Everybody's supposed to have XYZ as a wealthy man in another country. And I think in other countries, they just don't function like that,
But then what you said, though, like, you see success as the nuclear family?
Well, I do, according to a biblical, standard, but I'm from here. So, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just bringing that up from, like, just to remember, like, how he responded to me. And I'm like, damn, he wasn't even thinking about it. He's older than me. And he's talking like he's a young, I don't want no family, blah, 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 XYZ. You know what I mean? And it just sparked a thing in my head, like, he was smart enough to know that I don't make enough, or I don't have enough to even start this situation.
I see. That's what's up. Okay. Anybody else had something to say on that?
Yeah, I'll say, like, our sermon this weekend was phenomenal. Pastor John, he talked about something similar along those lines. Like, whenever people, one of the reluctancy of people having children, like because Miss Diddy's women's clinic was, one of the things that they featured, and it was talking about the reluctancy of people to have kids because they don't think that they are able to provide. But at the end of the day, ultimately, God's the one that provides. As much as we think that we're willing to able, like it is. So you kind of chuckled on that one. Prototype, and this is what I say, that like from a man's standpoint, right, and I'll even say leadership standpoint. I think HD, you touched on this, like when you started firing people, is because of it had to do with control. You wanted to control the situation, and no matter in whichever way you could, to the point where you'll fire them. That's a form of control, exercising that control. And we desire to have control. We don't want to be out of control. So one of the vital things that we don't have control of is our very heartbeat. You can't hold your breath and stop your heartbeat. God controls that. So we don't have no control of that portion. So in order for us to get up and go to work every day, that gift of every beat is given to us by God. So from that standpoint, he's the one that provides. Essentially, that's how I look at it, because there's some people that were here today and gone tomorrow, and God ultimately controls that. So that's how I look at it whenever it even comes to our kids. Like if we allow that fear to cause us not to have the ability. And another book I read, it talked about there's a couple of people that are reluctant to have kids, and basically it then boils down to two things: either you're not able to biologically, or you're selfish. And I don't want to say it like that because it sounds harsh, but it's real. Like if at the end of the day, if we want to change the world, like we look at the world and we say, as for leadership, right, we could say, oh, well, this is bad and this is good. If we want to change the world, who else can do it better than we can than our children? So we have the ability to mold them and teach them the difference between right and wrong, because again, that leadership piece is you could lead people the right way or you could lead them the wrong way, but that's relative in which you want to go. So you have these offsprings and they have the ability to touch further into the future than you do, because we have this limited amount of time in which we have that our children should outlive us. Should like statistically, that's how it goes. Our children will outlive us. So they have a better chance of touching into the future than we do. So from that leadership standpoint, I look at it like this, and HDU touched on it. There are many leaders, but what distinguishes a leader from being good or bad? That's the thing that gets me. What was it? John Jones, the one that made him drink the Kool-Aid? Boy, that's man.
Jim Jones. You talking about Jim Jones?
Jim Jones.
Yeah, the one with the Kool-Aid. Yeah. I mean, that would be considered leadership to have people at the point where they will then just drink up on the Kool-Aid and then die off. So, is that good leadership?
Well, y'all already said it depends on the person.
It does.
That's what y'all said. Y'all said it depends on the person.
I'll say this for
success.
For Jim Jones and his man. Of course, he was successful.
He was successful.
Right. I don't think none of them people out there when the coroners came thought that. But well, even in their mind, they honestly, if they would, and like I said, all of us know this story or was taught this story. Even in their mind, they might have thought they were successful, but because they accomplished the goal of the leader. And that's why I think, and Humble Dad said this, every man is born a leader, but I really do believe you're going to pick a side. You're going to pick good or evil. Yeah. And I honestly believe that's what it's going to come down to. You get to decide, but you're going to pick a side.
I agree. You're not neutral. You can't be on the fence.
No.
And this one, you can't be on the fence in it. So like, I think that is where the imperative comes in to knowing the difference between good and evil at the end of the day. So as for leadership, like Jesus says again, my shepherds know my name, and not, or my sheep know know my voice. And in that, he says, I'm the good shepherd. So in that, for a leader, like if we're sheep, that's the leader. So we follow the leader. So and I'll even go to this point. A lot of these applications nowadays, like social media applications, one of the things that they have is to follow people. Jesus was the original creator of that social media. He was like, "Hey man, follow me, follow me." So yeah, he has subscribers.
Like that.
I like that. That's what's up.
but ultimately, like it's like whenever it comes to it, it's like follow the leader. So like I made mention earlier about the herd going off the cliff. There's somebody leading that herd off the cliff. There's somebody leading them off that cliff. So in that, would that be a good leader leading all those people off the cliff? It would be, but if there's that many people that are following them.
Yeah, okay, got you. So this is going to segue into, as we talk about our children, then how are you going to, or how would you, what's the best way to say it like this? How would you teach your children to be leaders? Since we're talking about that they're created, right? And it's our responsibility. How will, as far as like how it will turn out, then how will you teach your children to be leaders?
Honestly, I gotta think. Like I said, everybody here but leaders. I think we got to go to the source of leadership. And like I said, and this the thing. And Humble Dad, I know, your platform, religion is part of it, but I know a lot of the times in these spaces and a lot of
hadn't
people
been
that
intentionally.
It happens, but if it's in you, it's gonna come out. Like you said, if you're a believer and you ain't ashamed of it, it's gonna come out
for sure.
But the world that we live in now is becoming more and more disconnected. So a lot of the time, when you bring up God and Bible, it's one ear and out the other. But I honestly believe that if we follow the ultimate leader, where can we go wrong if we are truly following? So for me, and that's what got me. My father was a minister in church. So I knew what a leader was. I watched him. I watched the guy that he looked up to, the pastor of the church. I got a chance to watch his brothers, and I got a chance to see what leadership was and what being a man was. And honestly, that's why I'm so happy that I had the son, because I want to be able to put those things in him. If he decides to be on the good or evil side, I can't control that. You plant the seed. Outside of that, that's up to him. You plant the seed. That's all that we can do. So for me, I really want to show him. I want to be the example. I want other successful men to show them what leadership is. So that's where I am.
Prototype, what you got? Oh, Dwayne, you finna say something?
Yeah, I'll let Prototype get.
Okay.
It would depend. It depends, right? So I have 3 boys. All have different skill sets. Some have none, right?
Oh wow!
We'll leave him alone.
I say that to bring up, for the ones who are athletic, right? At some point, they're going to become the best player on the team. Their leadership is different from the ones that aren't athletic. And I'm not saying athleticism is the only skill set, but just in this example, right? So the one that's not athletic, right? Me teaching him is, don't be a follower. Don't do what doesn't feel right. Be your own leader, even if no one follows you. Be your own, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to be as influential as the one that's going to become the best on his team. In the moments, right, amongst his peer group. The other one is probably going to deal with how to lift up people around him that's not performing like him. So the message is slightly different on how to be a leader.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think the underlying baseline will all be the don't follow when you don't feel right. You know what I mean? That's going to be underlying baseline for all of it. but some needs an extra of look. If you cannot bring or talk bad to your other teammates that's not performing, this is how you do it. Show them you're a leader this way. You know, and I coach sports anyway. So even when I tell the best player on the team that, like, look, this is how you be a leader. Like the coaching is very different from guys that were teaching skills from guys that have skills.
Give
You
me
understand what I'm saying?
Give me an example of like you have an all-star player, I guess, and you're saying, okay, he's going to be the leader of the team because he's the best player on the team.
Because he's the best. People are going to naturally just look to him to make the plays, to get us the 4th and 1s, to get us through whatever situations is going on the field. Everybody knows this kid's probably is the best kid. He's getting the ball in his hands, so he has to do it, right?
Yeah.
So he naturally becomes a leader because he has these gifts. You know, he has these skills. So
when
I'm like, look, this is how you do it. Everybody's depending on you, but you got to make everybody else feel comfortable enough to make sure that they do their job. You know what I mean? So it's like, as long as they believe in you, then they'll do the best that they can to hit the block or catch the ball. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ends up doing it to appease the leaders of the team, who essentially will, you know, if I did my little part, then we get the win. You know, we're all in this common goal. So the training's a little different. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I mean, part of it is being a leader enough to where you don't need a follower and don't worry about following people that's doing wrong. And don't worry about people following you. You have to go over here. And then there's the other side where you got to teach boys to be like, look, you got to be encouraging. This is how you encourage. Don't be a bully, especially when you got it, right? So it's kind of like saying how to, like, I'm not a fan of David. I can't, he's the worst guy in the Bible to me.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of him at all. And there's one thing he did that the one thing he did when he sent the soldier to the front lines to get killed, I cannot respect that kind of guy. I don't care what else he's did. You know what I'm saying? But abusing somebody's submission in that way, I can't respect you. Just to have his woman, and you can have any woman you want, I can't respect that. You know what I'm saying? So that's a huge mark on his character, and he's just not my guy. but that's what I'm saying.
To erase half of Psalm.
I don't care about Psalm. I don't care about none of that. I care about Job and Proverbs and Judges. Those are my favorite book. Job, Judges, and Proverbs. Those are my books.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just, well, like I said, it's just one of those things where, like, you can't abuse the power that you're given.
That's what's up. What you got on it, Dwayne?
Man, see, I like that. See, I've been benched before. No matter how good I thought I was, how great I was, I've been benched, and it's because of my attitude. And that was a huge learning lesson. I think one of the leaders, foremost, especially whenever it comes to sports, is the coach. And the leaders can be the players, but they have to exhibit leadership skills. And talent is not to me, is not the ultimate form of leadership skills. It's how they are able to utilize that talent in addition to utilizing the players that are on the field with them. I'll give an instance. My daughter's soccer team that I'm the assistant coach to, we made it to the championship game in the tournament, and one of the best players in the on the field yelled at our goalkeeper to take her out because she made a mistake, and she wasn't exhibiting good leadership skill. But at that moment in time, I wanted to pull her out of the game. You could go come and sit on the bench, because your talent does not allow you to then treat other people badly. And I think Prototype, you're making mention of that as well, like as for being a bully, right? And I think in that, I'm willing to humble a player by benching them, have them sit because of their actions as much as it would hurt the team. Because I think it hurts the team more whenever you are negatively reacting to other people. So from that leadership standpoint, like I'm willing to bench you. So like as for my kids, right, whenever it comes to this, if you think you are hot stuff, I'll bench you. And to me that's like I desire to put you in timeout. Like I have young kids, and my oldest is 17. There are certain times where there's that humbling moment where I don't care if you're hot stuff. If your mind ain't right, you need a timeout to think about it, because I think that can limit you from a lot of opportunities. And I'm talking from experience where I had a terrible attitude, huge chip on my shoulder. I had the whole daggum tree growing out my shoulder that needed to be hewn down. And with that, I missed out on the opportunity of making freshman basketball. The coach didn't want me to play on this team. I wouldn't. And the thing about it, I'll thank him. If I see that man today, I'll shake his hand, hug him, and I'll thank him, because he taught me a lesson. Because as much as hot stuff as I thought I was, running down that field, my attitude exuding off my face, I didn't have no business being on his team if that wasn't right. Because all I was going to be is toxic to that team. So I think there's a form of leadership is also then being able to hey, you're talented, but you're not ready yet. And that's with my children. It doesn't matter how talented you are in certain areas. Like if I'll go like this. If your heart ain't right. So one of the things that's with my kids, I want to make sure that their heart is right. If my son, if he's going about his business playing rough, and then he hits his sister and his sister says, ouch, and he just keeps on going about his business, I'm going to stop. Dude, time out. Did you notice that? Were you aware that you just impacted somebody else other than what you had going on? And I think allowing people, or from my children, allowing them to be aware of the other people that are around them and how their actions will then impact them, and whether or not, as what we were talking about for leadership before, whether their action is going to impact them in a negative way or in a positive way. I want them to be conscious and aware of how their actions can impact other people. And again, like I think I made mention of it last week, kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul. And in that, there's a point in time where they need to be able to find out that there are certain things in their actions that they can give to people, because it says the tongue is a two-edged sword. There are certain things that they could give to people that can bless them and lift them up, and then there are certain things that they could say to people that will tear them down. Now, Prototype, last week you hit me with this one. That don't come natural to you. I've been thinking about that all week. I've been thinking about that all week. My wife was like, yeah, I like what Prototype said. I said, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about that. So like from a coach standpoint, right? Like we will big up people. We want to extract the best from people, but sometimes we got to tear in their behind. And I think that's another piece that comes naturally too. Like bigging up people, yeah, we want to say, hey, good job, hey, you did this, but there's a time where it's like, hey, that right there, what you did is unacceptable, and we have to be ready to tear off in their behind in that instance. And it's like when we do it, we're not doing it out of malice, we're doing it out of love. And I think from a man's standpoint, that is what comes naturally. Like we're not sitting there trying to tear your head off and knock your spirits off. No, we're trying to build you up out of love. And sometimes you have to tear something down in order to then build it up better. And that's how I look at it. So I was also then thinking about that as well from a coach's standpoint. And you say you're a coach. I think we are all, like, as fathers, we are coaches. As parents, we're coaches to our children. So there are times where we do have to then say, hey, you know what? This is tough love. It's not smooth. It's not easy. It's tough.
Oh, yeah, you was horrible today. You know what I'm saying? Shay said that last week, right, to her own son. And Prototype was like, hey, you hooped? Even though
she pulled out that scroll of certification.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah. He's like, oh, well, I can't say nothing.
I'm just like, if you got the credentials to say something like that, like, you know what I'm saying? You say it. But you can't just be going out saying like, you know what I mean? Like,
understood.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
understood.
it's very, I think for me, your credentials do matter, um, especially when you're teaching your children to be leaders. And the way that I teach my children is the way in which I communicate with them. Like I talk to them about, I let them know, a situation is coming up. This is what I'm thinking. Uh, Case in point, when I was about to start looking to date again, right? I would tell them, I would ask them, like, what's your thoughts about another woman coming into the house? Like, where you at, with that? What do you think about dad talking to somebody else? And this was before I even was thinking about it, but I knew that at one point in time it would happen, right? So I kind of get them that particular point in perspective. I also I take control of a lot of situations, and I show them, okay, hey sons, you shouldn't have did that like this. Like one day you're going to be a husband, right? And one day you're going to have a conversation with with your wife or whatnot, and the way how you're approaching things is not going to work. I talk to my daughter, okay, one day if you so choose, you're going to be a wife, right? And the way that you coming at me or your brothers is not going to work well, so I am coming from, but how I do it, I try to make sure that I give them an example, a prototype, if you will, in which they see me in a leadership role, whether it's how I treated their mother or how I treat Kendra now, and I'm pretty vulnerable at times, and some people may say you're too vulnerable. Okay, all right. So with my kids, where I'm letting them know that men have emotions, right? And sometimes they're the wrong emotion. I go back and I apologize if I did something wrong. And then I say, you know what? I did let you off this time. Like I'm always in somewhat of an explanation mode, but don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? The rod does not get spared. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how I kind of execute in the form of trying to teach my children how to be leaders. And with my daughters, for those that don't know, I have 13-year-old girl, 11-year-old boy, a 9-year-old boy, and a 4-year-old girl, right? And so as y'all know, you got to communicate with them totally different. With my girls, I know that I got to be pretty sensitive to them. My 13-year-old for sure. My 4-year-old, she's a little rough around the edges. You know what I'm saying, Dwayne? Dwayne, no. My 4-year-old. Listen, you got to talk stern to her. You talk soft, she running all over you, right? So it's a matter of them seeing that at how I coach them, that it's not the same with everybody, because everybody needs something different. And that's what leadership is about, right? Kind of designing your technique to that particular player. So that's how I would say that. Right? And so we won't have any last words because I want to get it closed out. We're gonna go to I couldn't get this picture, but this has been a talk of the internet. I was trying to see if I could get it loaded. I don't know if I can or not. Let's see. Yeah, I can't. Let's see if I can move it out the way. No, let's see if it goes like this. No, that don't work. Yeah, it won't go. So I was trying to get the thumbnail to show, but it doesn't show. But there is the caption. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's the with Rihanna on the cover of Vogue and ASAP Rocky. Have y'all seen that?
Yep.
Prototype. Have you seen it, Dwayne?
No, I'm good though.
Okay.
Appreciate you though.
Well, it's not nudity, bro.
No, I get it. No, I get it. Like she's pregnant. She pregnant?
Yes, she's pregnant again. Okay. And so, but I wanted to have a conversation about what's your thought process on the picture? What I have my idea of what it is that came to mind when I saw it, but I wanted to have an idea because the question is, what's the problem? That's what the question is for the day. But what's the problem with the picture? Because it seems to be the talk of the town that there is an issue going on with the picture. What's your take? What's the issue with the picture?
Man, I guess I'll take it. Man, it's first of all, let me say this. number one, it's a magazine cover. That's clear as day. We got that. But I think the reason why I say me, I always look at stuff and I always think a little deeper than it. That picture represents the reverse of what it's supposed to be. You got Rihanna leading ASAP Rocky and he holding the baby. And all of us know that ain't the way it's supposed to be. So I know as soon as I seen it, I was like, wait a minute, what? Rocky signed up for this? But you gotta look at it once again. It's other factors going on behind these things. But for him to even not even say no, I think they show you a lot of his character, or it could just be money. But me, I'll never take a picture like that because I don't want that to be the representation of me. Some people can, we just far behind. We stuck in tradition. Maybe so, but I'm supplanted in it. Me personally, I wouldn't take a picture like that because it just gives a weird look, man. I really do believe that the father should be leading. That picture could have been reversed, and I don't think it would have been no problem. But the fact that it was like that, it definitely caused a stir. And for me, it just, look, man, some guys don't care. I'm the type of guy that care. I understand what that looks like to most men. But unfortunately, we live in a time where who cares? Do what you want, live how you want. It's cool if your girl lead. I disagree, though.
So we'll let Dwayne go last. You know what I'm saying? You know how you always were.
Hey, I was thinking about going in the middle, man, just so I didn't do that.
So when this was initially sent to me, right? Like my brother sent me this one, like, look at this, right? And I'm like, I don't see the problem with the picture at all. You know what I mean? Like it didn't trigger me. It did absolutely nothing for me. I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? They're showing off their baby, or I don't know. I thought nothing of it. And then like you scroll past social media a little bit and it's all over the place. This stirs up, right? Like, and I'm like, dang, like, oh, this is a thing, which it also, it makes me think even more that it's a part of it. Like, cause I didn't see none of the stir first. He just sent me the picture. I guess he's seen it. So I'm like, oh, this is a ploy. Because everybody stirred up about it. And when I looked at it initially, I didn't feel anything about it. Oh, this is wrong, this and that. No, if it's a dude covered in a dress, all right, you know what I mean? But at this point, we're used to that trick. So I'm like, we already know who pulling the strings here. Like, we're used to that trick. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't even be tripping off of, like, I know there's one with the dude who's about to be in a boxing movie with
I heard about that. Yeah.
So
he's a lot of women type of gear on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like, but it's the same trick over and over and over. But like I said, initially when I seen this photo, I didn't think nothing of it. Hey, it's at least it's a black family, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like that's what I'm thinking. Like, hey, we got to start here. I didn't think about her leading him. I'm just thinking it's a family photo. I didn't think nothing of it. It's kind of hard for me to even make a statement on the rest of the, should a woman lead? No, they don't want to lead. You know what I'm saying? They want to rest in their feminine. They don't got no time for that, for real. Should a man be leading? Of course, right? But as far as the photo's concerned, I really don't feel nothing about this photo. And the fact that it's such a stir, I feel like it's just going into manipulation that we already talked about, right? It's not just the hip hop music. You know what I'm saying? It's all types of stuff they're using to manipulate us. So we can't just blame any particular thing about where's the manipulation coming from, because it's coming from everywhere. You know what I'm saying? You already said, Dwayne, you canceled your Netflix. I'm setting you up for a killer closing. You already, but you already said you canceled your Disney Plus, you canceled your Netflix, you canceled this, you canceled that. You know what I mean? So you understand the global aspect of what's going on here. You get the big picture. You know what I'm saying? So initially from the picture, like I said, I don't see a problem with the picture. It looks like a great family photo to me. Other than that, with the family leading, who should lead, we all know what it is. And we got to stop complaining about what the media is doing and fix it ourselves. Like, and focus on that and that only. And that's all that really matters. Like, we can't, how long we going to sit here and be like, oh, the media's doing this and the media's doing that and blah, 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 blah. Man, screw them. We got to fix the situation ourselves and, you know, control our own narrative. So, alley-oop.
Nice.
Dwayne.
Man, you see, I appreciate that perspective. You know, whenever I look at the picture, I see what you're saying, HD, and I see what connotations that, you know, that may bring from it. But I will say that I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. So these people, these people are the ones that are set forth in front of us as for the leaders of our culture, as a leader of our culture. But I'll let me see if I can find it. So there's whenever I was doing my big studies around the same time, Prototype, that I was talking about, whenever I was deeply entrenched in the culture, because I wanted to fit in. I'll put it like that. I wanted to fit in. That's what I wanted to do. And in my studies, one of the verses that stood out to me, which I believe tonight is very appropriate, because one of the things we're talking about is leadership. It's 2 Corinthians verse 4, and it says, "In whom the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believeth not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ shall shine on them," or the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, shall shine on them. And whenever I look at that, it stood out to me because it was lowercase God, in whom the God of this world. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, God of this world. I mean, like, there's just God. But then it's no, the devil is the God of this world in which we now live in. So if we want to talk about leadership, the devil is the one that's leading this world. Like, if you're blind, but if you are, if your eyes are open to what is called the wiles of the devil, you shall be able to see. And in this, whenever I look at that, and not only that, I see this, but then I also saw her halftime show that she did as well. And I'm one that does subscribe to the whole narrative of this Illuminati stuff in which people talk about, right? They think it's some kind of conspiracy theory, right? But if you're a Bible believer, you already know there's somebody already conspiring against you. The theory part of it is just that it says that you have a mind to think, and the very fact that you're able to think that somebody and think and know that there's somebody conspiring against you and conspiring against us and conspiring against our family, we should be aware to that. So in that, I look at these things and Prototype, to your point, yeah, it's everywhere, right? What was that Sam Smith gentleman, right? He used to be slim and slender. Now he's chunky and funky, sitting
like, he unholy.
There you go, right? Like that. I mean, that was put in front of everybody, right? They ain't hiding it no more. They're not hiding it no more. So it's out front. It's out front for everyone to see. And if you they're selling, and if you buying, and I'm not buying what they're selling, fortunately. And I'll close it up by saying this: not everything is acceptable. So Cain and Abel, two different offerings. One gave an offering that was acceptable to the Lord, and one gave an offering was not acceptable to the Lord. God came to Cain and says, "Why has your countenance fallen? If you do not well, won't it be accepted?" And then he didn't have communion with God. He didn't communicate back with God. He communicated back with his brother and ended up killing him. I find that very, very interesting and very important, because a thing that we're lacking is the communion with God, and we're having communion with culture, and we're consuming what they're giving us to consume. And me personally, I don't desire to consume it, or, like I was even saying earlier, spend my money in supporting that. I don't desire to do it because I see what they're trying to do and I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So like as for that Vogue, I could care less about Vogue. I could care less about Vogue. I could care whenever for the last, I don't remember the last halftime show I watched. Because honestly and truly, I think it's just devil propaganda. Everyone's watching. Everyone's watching. And guess what? People spend a huge chunk of change to advertise to you and sell to you during that time. It just depends on if you're buying or not. I ain't buying it.
Interesting. Well, I guess I'll end it like this. When I saw it, my statement was they not married.
Yep.
That was the thing that I was like, okay, because they asked the question like, what do you see? And I was like, well, if he leaves her, she's a single mother, you know, and that's and I would much rather, since I'm a proponent of marriage, I would be somewhat okay. I mean, I didn't have nothing issue with her being in the front or anything like that, or him holding the kid. My issue was that they wasn't married, and she's about to have a second child by him, right? And the depiction of the black family is what it was my thought process, and so that was the part that I didn't like. And one of the things that Kendra said was that, you know, the magazine cover, the magazine is about the article is about Rihanna, right? And so you have to look at that too. So that's probably why she was on the cover, right? So that's another thing to look at. But at the same time, it's another opportunity for there to be an uproar about something that in it does matter, but it doesn't matter as much as how you're living individually, you know, in the sense of like, okay, she's on the cover with her family. That's how the person that ran it would see it, or most people would see it that has the other perspective, right? Well, but the people that are looking at it, what are you doing about your family? That would be my question. You may have issue with the photo, that's cool, but what are you doing about the problem, right? Because our success is what we said in the beginning. This is what I was trying to get to. Our success is determined by us individually, right? But collectively, we have to have a standard.
That's what Prototype was saying.
Right. I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm putting the pieces all together. I would have once again, and I would have much rather seen it be back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? You have the Cosbys on the cover, or Family Matters. Even I don't rock with, you know, Carl like that, but it still was a family, right? Dynamic, you know, or even My Wife and Kids, Blackish. Like these are, even if you like the shows or not, right? They are depicting a kind of a cohesiveness of them being married. Even if they're making fun of the man, they're still a married couple, right? And so hopefully, you know, even on this small scale that we have, that we're reaching some people to understand that the importance of marriage is what, from a biblical perspective, is what helps move the family and also move the church. Why? Because Christ is a representation of what marriage is supposed to be, right? And so that's Prototype. Why I would say that I'm not going to disagree with you that every man doesn't deserve to be married. I'm 100% with you, right? But I believe that every man was destined to be married in the sense of this, because he said he created Adam, right? He created Adam and told him that he shouldn't be alone. Right. And so that was the whole purpose of man and woman to come together, was to procreate. Right. And so go ahead. That's just my thought process on
I've had plenty of pushback. I'm not a fan of Paul either. Right.
We need a list, Prototype. We need a list.
Do you like the Bible? Like,
I told you my favorite book is Judges, Job, and Proverbs. But
Old Testament. Okay, I got you.
He's cutthroat.
Man.
But there's even forgiveness in those though.
Come on. But listen. So the only reason I even pointed him out, right? Because I know I've gotten plenty of pushback on Paul saying you shouldn't get married so you can attend to all the Lord's affairs and it doesn't get in the way, blah blah blah. And I know there's a very small percentage of guys that are like, what is it, Enochs? You know what I mean? Like that kind of situation. But like I said, I just don't think it's not for every man to get married. And I think that's an American cultural thing where we're supposed to have the white picket fence. It's a part of our dream. But I think in other countries, they might think a little differently about everybody getting married. I think it just goes to who can afford to get married.
That's right. Well,
and I'm sorry to say
you're gonna have to get a Twitter answer if you're gonna give an answer.
Real quick. So I think that's where the issue is, like, coming from my standpoint. I spoke to someone today, and they were from the Philippines, and one of the things we identified is the deterioration of the family structure, or the nuclear family. So that is a vital component of the American society. A vital component, and again, like America
society, bro.
I'm sorry.
It's of any society.
Yeah, but in particular, I'm speaking about the American society in which we live, and the reason why I'm speaking, because America does not have a particular like race. Like it's a melting pot. So in that regard, we're able to see all these other families or other cultures might immigrate to America, and then for lack of better words, be successful on the family front, because they're able to keep it together and stay together in that regard, because family is important. It's a key component to their success.
That's a bet. Well, I appreciate everybody being here. Make sure you go check out Prototype on Tuesdays at 8 Eastern.
8, I mean, it's 9 Eastern, so that'll be 8 Central.
8 Central, not, man, I always get that wrong. I appreciate but you always gonna correct me, so you know what I'm saying.
I'm trying my best.
That's a bet. And then you got 5100. Y'all come on when, bro?
We go live Saturdays at 8.
Okay, when everybody's trying to go to the club. I got
you. Yeah. We trying
I was like, yo, I'm outside on the weekends, dog. Like,
we trying to get y'all out the club and into the Lord. You know, we trying. You got to push it on the weekends, brother. You got to go to where the people are at. That's what you got to go.
And then you got Dwayne Jones over there taking photographs and things of that nature. So you can hit him up at DwayneJonesPhotography.com. And you want anything about me, you know what I'm saying, go to humbledad.life. You know what I'm saying? And you'll get to know a little bit more about me. And so appreciate you, fellas. Make sure y'all, everybody out there that's watching and listening, that you like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? And then we out this piece. Until next time, deuces.
Peace.
The boy is dangerous.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.